Saxon Advanced Mathematics, lesson 125. This is it, the last lesson of high school Saxon Mathematics that there is to teach. And even though I have avoided it and put my foot down, we're going to use a graphing calculator. I'm using a TI-83 Plus, a TI-82 will also work. I am not completely up to date. There may be more generations, TI Texas Instruments, but this is the kind of model that you want. Again, this is the window that makes this a graphing calculator as opposed to just a smartphone calculator, which has a lot of the functions that we need. There are places online that will allow you to operate a graphing calculator, so you don't have to go out and buy a separate one if you don't want to. But if you're planning on studying math at the college level, pre-cal and so on, you'll want to invest in one. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some of the operations that we've been doing by hand, and we're going to look to see how you would solve them using a calculator. Now, I'm going to be the first to say it. This is the whole reason I don't like calculators. The only thing we're really going to be talking about is how to operate the calculator and push the buttons to get the right result. We're not going to be talking about the math. We're just going to be talking about how to operate the calculator. And that's the whole problem, is that everybody gets distracted by pushing buttons and forgets to think about the math. But that's okay. We're just going to play around with it. Before I get in, though, I want to tell you about two functions that we're going to be using to find solutions. And this is my icon that means it's a button on the calculator. There's one that is called the trace button. And what the trace button allows you to do is move along the graph. It's got like a movable little cursor, and you can move along the shape that you have graphed to isolate certain points on it. It's useful, but it is an approximation. And so it is a less precise way to find your answer. There's a different button that says, it's the calculate button, but it's abbreviated like this. And this is the exact calculation. So in the first problem, we're going to practice using the trace button, but then we're going to quickly move beyond that and never look back. And we'll be focusing on how to use the calculate button. Okay, so let's dive in. And I will read you the first problem. Using a graphing calculator, graph the function, and then it's the sort of thing we've been playing around with, x cubed plus 4x squared plus x minus 6. Use the trace key and the cursor to estimate the coordinates of the turning point. Okay, so let me show you what we're talking about. I turn it on, and I'm getting a low battery message, which is really sad, and I don't think you're going to be able to see that picture very well. What happens if I do this? Now, I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see that. Oh, there. If I bring it all the way up. Recommending change of batteries. Well, I don't have any batteries, so we're just going to have to tough it up. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter this function into the calculator. I go to this button that says y equals, and it gives me a place to enter lots of different functions. See how there's lots of rows of them? So I just need to enter one for this problem. So I will do that. This button here is what I hit for x. Now there isn't an x cubed feature, so I have to create that. I go here for my exponent, and then whenever you create an exponent, it's a good idea to put it in parentheses. So I'm going to put the 3 in parentheses. Then I'm going to say plus 4x, and now for x squared, I can just use this button, the x squared button, plus x minus 6. This is the minus key for the operation of subtraction. This is if you want to make a value negative. We'll use this one for a different calculation later. Okay, let me just check and make sure I got it right. Yes, I've entered it all, which hopefully you can see. And now I'm going to press trace in this example. And what it does is it graphs that curve for us. Now, what I can do, and you can see the cursors appearing down there at the bottom of the curve. Remember, these are the turning points. And what I can do is just toggle along. I'm using this toggle key. I'm toggling along till I get to the top of that turning point, and then it shows me here the x value and the y value. Now I need to just double check those. X equals minus 2 point, oh, I'm not quite there. There, that one's a little bit higher. And I get minus 2.553191. That is the correct x value. And the y value is 0.8782447. I'm reading those out of the textbook, but you can see that they match exactly. So we have used the trace function and the cursor method to find that x and y value. And again, that was just us guessing our way along. Now, what happens when I go back and I toggle down the curve is I can see that this turning point is a little bit harder to read because it's jammed up against that y-axis, right? So there's what we can do is we're going to basically zoom in on this area of the curve to give us a better view, so to speak. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this window function to change the way our thing is zoomed in. Oh, I've already changed it because I did this problem before. Do you see how it says minimum and maximum? Right here and right here. Those used to be set at 10. And what I did was I went to each one and I re-entered minus 5 and to subtract, I used the minus value, not the subtraction key. I used the negative value. I entered a negative 5, and then for the maximum I entered a positive 5, and then I hit trace again. And what it has done, it's kind of hard to see in this picture, but it has just kind of expanded that area of the graph a little bit. It's zoomed me in a bit. And now I'm able to get really nice, precise values. Minus 1.106383. I read that out of the book. And the y value is minus 6.062318. So we have found the exact turning points, right? Now, that was using the trace key. That is not the way we want to do it in the future, but that was our goal for the first example. So, I'm not going to write all that down, but I'm going to go on to example 125.2. In this example, we have a system of equations, and we want to find the solution to that. So here are the two equations we're going to enter. X to the 2.3 and y equals x plus 1.44. Okay, so let's clear this out. We're going to go back to our functions. We want to get rid of this first one. So I hit clear, and now my list is empty. I know you can't see it well now. And we're going to enter this function, and then in the second one, we'll enter that function. So it will be x to the power, and then I'm going to use parentheses, 2.3, close parentheses. So that is how the first one is entered. Now I go down to the second one, and this will be x plus 1.44. So there again, there's my x plus 1.44. Okay, so now I've got two functions graphed, and this time, I am also going to set this zoom for standard. Okay, so that resets my matrix. Now I'm ready to press trace. Oh, I ran out of batteries. Okay, pause.